Hey guys, it's time to talk about Yuki Yuna, Washio Sumi no Shou, episode 4. And I think that all of my impression videos are very spoilerish. But this one is especially spoilerish, so if you haven't watched episode 4, please go watch it before discussing about this episode with me. So, how can I start talking about this episode? For the first half of this episode, things were very common and things followed the pattern of the past 3 episodes. So it was very calm. The girls were on a trip with the school and they were having fun. Now it's interesting to see that those 3 girls are friends. They're very close to each other and they've connected very well with each other. So it's interesting to notice that their relationship is very different than it was in episode 1. So in 3 episodes, we've had lots and lots of development when it comes to those 3 characters and their friendship. So what's to notice about those about this first half? I think that the first thing that was strange was the introduction. I mean, every episode introduction is very macabre for a reason. I don't know why, but I feel like it's very haunting. And to listen to Washi talking about the girls and talking about their story, there's always something strange in it. And I feel like in this episode specifically, when she talked about, when she said something like, we're always gonna be friends, us 3 are always gonna be friends, there was something wrong. And it was easy to notice that something would not go right in this episode. But it was the first half of the episode was very heartwarming. It was nice to see them interacting again, even though it felt a little bit repetitive sometimes. I liked it because I like the characters. So I think that if you enjoyed 3 girls, I think this episode is a given. At least the first half is a given. And some of the scenes that were very interesting were obviously Nogi with the bugs. She had a beetle in her, and Washi was very scared. When Washi looked again, all of those beetles, I was so shocked. I was shocked like Washi was, but that scene was so cute. It was so endearing in a way. And then there was another scene in the barbecue when the teacher was not eating the pepper, and then Nogi said there was a fairy, the pepper fairy, that's going to visit her if she doesn't eat. That's so random and so Noggy at the same time. I loved it as well. And there were 2 scenes that were very ominous in a way. The first one was when Gin was climbing up that thing. I don't know what it was, but she was using a rope and then she fell down. She was taking things very lightly, and Washi obviously took it as in she was taking the mission lightly as well, and she has to remember who she is. She's a hero, so she has to do things in a different way. She has to take a different approach in life in general, not only when she's battling, but when she's doing life stuff as well. And when we had Gin's scene with her family, I mean, every time we have those things and every time we have promises like, when I come back, I'm gonna bring something to you, red flags everywhere. So when the fight started, one of the things I love about the fights, before the fight started, there was that very big bridge. It was very beautiful, but it was also very scary with all the noises. And then, it was very silent, and then everything became noisy, and everything became, it felt like a storm because the wind was blowing and those things were chiming, and it really felt like a storm, and I was kind of scared. I'm like, oh my god, here it comes. And then the fight started. I think one of the aspects of Yuki Yuna that I really feel in my heart is that the girls are very lonely. When they're fighting, they're out of this world, they're in a different dimension. No one can help them, no one can see them, no one can notice them, no one can do anything for them. Let's just take this season into consideration. They have the teacher who is also their mentor. And this teacher helps them train. They can train outside of this bizarre realm that they fight in. But then when it comes to the actual fighting, the teacher can do nothing for them. People can do nothing for them. They have only themselves. And they're children. They're basically children. They're not even teenagers yet. I don't know how old they are, but they feel like children to me. And that's why it's so heartbreaking to see them fight. And this season specifically has been very difficult to watch because the fights, even since the first one, the fights are very brutal. I don't remember them being this brutal in the other season, in the first Yuki Yuna season. I don't remember it being like this. And those girls are suffering. They have no experience and they seem weak. They seem kind of weak, especially Washi. Washi seems very weak. Her power isn't, I don't know. And Nogi also seems helpless in fights and she can do some things with her weapon. But in general, both of them feel very weak. And Gen is the one who's actually seemed to be the strongest, and she seems to be the one that leads the fights, even though Nogi is the leader, and even though Nogi has some great ideas when she's fighting, like when Washi shot that arrow and Nogi pushed it even further into the vertex. Vertex, is it the name of the monsters? Anyway, so when the fight started, when I saw two monsters, I was like, oh no, they're having trouble defeating one, and then now we have two. But now they're more connected. They're more they can probably think of something that can fight together. But things were so fast, and they couldn't do anything. And it was interesting because it went out of nowhere because they were being able to at least defend themselves. Washi was able to attack them, but then all of those shots came from out of nowhere and a third vertex appeared and attacked the girls, and the girls were not able to escape that tail attack. But the most interesting aspect of this was, I think that Washi and Nogi, they were both defeated very easily. They were so easily defeated, and one attack just pulled them out of the fight. And I know Gen was able to defend herself, but when I started seeing Gen fight, she was able to withstand way more than the girls. And I know there's a plot, there's a reason in the plot for that, but I don't know what happened to those girls, but they were defeated very easily. I call bullshit on that. I really do, because it was very easy for them to be defeated. And then Yin had to take the fight up all to herself, and we all know what happened. That fight was really hard to see because it was so bloody. I felt that it was a little unnecessary. I know Yuki Yuna is very tragic. I know that we're gonna suffer watching Yuki Yuna, but I felt like the bloody scenes, they were way too brutal for this show, and they're way too brutal for any type of show, and especially when it comes to a child fighting like that. And I felt that it was very brutal. It was very hard to watch. I couldn't really stand it. I was so shocked, and I couldn't really conceive something like that happening to Gin. And I was like, oh my god, no, Gin, no. Wake your powers up like the girls in Yuki Yuna did in the first season. And, but she didn't. And I don't actually know what happened, but it seems that she was able to defeat the three monsters, but it cost her her life and her body. It cost her her body because her body was totally mutilated. And the last scene with the girls walking up to her and seeing her in that state, I have no words. Guys, I have no words. I felt like it was really, really intense seeing both of them cry like that and both of them noticing that Gin was basically gone. And I have no words. I don't know what to say. And I felt like I felt the biggest sadness was that both of them were losing a friend, and they were losing someone who they got really close to. And as I was talking about, their mission is very lonely. So they only have each other. They can't share this with anyone else. I mean, no one would understand the gravity of the things, how great things are for them. No one would understand that, only themselves. And that's the worst thing, because Gin was such a great friend. And I feel like Gin was one of the links, one of the strongest links between the girls. And now I don't know how things are gonna go between Nogi and Washi, only the two of them. How are things gonna be with them? How is their friendship going to be from now on? So I'm really sad. I'm shook. I'm really shook after this episode, and I have no idea what to expect from the next one. We're only 2 episodes away from the ending of Washio's story, and I'm very curious to see more, and I think next episode is probably going to be as intense as this one, and I want to see the repercussions of what happened to Gin in the real world, not in the dimension. I want to see the repercussion, and I want to see how society deals with that, because they put such a strong burden into those girls. So I'm very curious to see that. So I'm waiting for you in the next episode, in the next impression video. But let's talk about episode 4, and let's talk about Gin's demise. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye bye!